Meanwhile, India's trade deficit fell sharply to below $18 billion in the month of January. The fall is largely thanks to imports, which are now at their lowest level in 16 months. Latha Venkatesh is joining us now to help us decode these numbers. Latha.
Yes, that's right. It's a very important trade deficit number. The January deficit coming in at 17.76 billion, a good 25% less than what it was in the previous month, December, when it was about $23.5 billion. It is equal to what it was a year ago, the deficit. But the important part, why the deficit in January is so much lower than December, is not because exports have grown, but because imports have fallen rather sharply. In fact, exports are also lower. They are at 32 billion compared to 34 billion in December and 35 billion in the previous January, year ago January. So exports are actually down, but imports are down very sharply at $50 billion in January compared to $58.5 billion in the month of December. And of course, a year ago it was 52. So imports are sizably lower, about 16% lower than what they were in December. And the Jan imports at 50 billion is actually lowest since August of 2021. So as you say, a 16-month low. The key imports that have fallen are actually gold and precious stones, as well as a big fall in electronics. Among others, chemicals and metals have also fallen a bit. Key exports that have fallen are basically textiles, engineering goods, gems and jewelry. Indication is that this is a global slowdown, and that's why all kinds of items are impacted. However, just to come back to the fall in the trade deficit, at $17.6 billion, the Jan trade deficit is lower than the average of the last 9 months. April to December, the average deficit is $25.5 billion. So substantially lower than that, almost 20%. And likewise, the Jan imports at 50 billion is much lower than the average import of April to December, which is $60.6 billion. So the basic point is, because of the imports falling so sharply, the big concern over current account deficit and concerns over rupee depreciation will be much less now after the Jan import number.